Welcome, and thank you for joining us for another episode of MJSA Expo Live. Today we're going to be learning all about Solidscape, and I have with me Owen Burke. He is the Director of Sales for Prodways USA and Solidscape, responsible for helping manufacturers with high-precision 3D printing systems. So that's all I'm going to say to introduce him, because he's got a lot more to share with you, and I can't wait to hear him answer the questions. So welcome, Owen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, this is going to be fun for me. I've been wanting to learn more about Solidscape anyway. Hey, real quick, audience, can you just go into the message bar and let us know that you can see and hear us, okay? Just want to make sure that technically everybody's receiving. I see some typing. I'm just waiting for answers. Excellent. We're coming through loud and clear. So, Owen, I know you haven't always been in the jewelry industry. So first, tell us how you got into the jewelry industry. What brought you here?
Well, I first came to Solidscape over 15 years ago. I came from HP and migrated over to a new opportunity for myself. Thought 3D printing was really cool, just like everybody else, and still love it today. So a lot of things that I learned about come from a lot of the people that I've gotten to know over the years. So when I started, I started to work with a gentleman named Jim Westberg, and I was hired by the CEO, David Bothwell. And during that interview process, I was given a tour of the facility. And from there, I was able to see a lot of the things that a lot of people couldn't see or didn't see. And 15 years ago, Solidscape isn't to what we are today, with hundreds of thousands of printers, hundreds to 1,000, 5,000 printers or so around the world being used today. So what I got to see was this amazing machine that was printing 3D printed parts in a wax material that nothing else could do or do what it is doing or what it was doing. So it was really interesting to see that. More importantly, though, during that time, I met the people, smaller company than what we are today, but it was the people that really have opened my eyes and gave me the opportunity to see and learn a lot about what Solidscape is about. And from that, I see a lot of hardworking people. I saw a lot of hardworking people dedicated to the business with an open mind. From there, I learned I trusted them, and I still trust them till today, right? So from working hard and creating relationships in the U.S., where I started working under Jim Westberg, I had the opportunity to manage the Europe, Middle East, Africa region under our former CEO, Fabio Esposito. During my time then, I met several wonderful people in Solidscape. The channel and the jewelry customers all over the world were very welcoming and appreciated everything that they had shared with me, because being an outsider, you never expect to be as welcomed as I was. So the patience, the understanding, the willingness to share their ideas, their thoughts was great. And being, again, an outsider, I wasn't really prepared for that, but it was eye-opening. It was very, very warming and honestly something that I didn't expect, but it's been a great experience. After a few years there, working in EMEA, working with Fabio, I had the opportunity to meet my wife and a number of the other partners that I had worked with, as well as customers, had met my wife, and so it became something a little bit more than just a job, if you will, or a stepping stone in a career for me. When my wife and I got married a few years later after that, we were graciously supported, and I received basically the gift that really still keeps on giving, and that's the extended Solidscape family within the channel, with customers internally here at Solidscape. So that was nothing short of amazing, and still is today for us. I'll never forget those experiences. And honestly, I'll never stop helping those people that helped me get to where I am and where I'm going. And no matter how many miles we're apart, or how long it's been since we last spoke.
That seems like a common jewelry industry experience. I know I had the same experience when I came here, that it's kind of an intimate industry.
Yeah. No, and it really shows through having that small niche market to a certain degree, really open up before your eyes to something more than just that. There is more there than what I think a lot of people really see. So it's been a great experience. And then after my time in Europe, I took over and started to direct the Americas region. We had a lot of success at the time. 3D printing was booming. The industry was doing fairly well, especially learning and understanding about the new different types of tools that are there, such as in CAD/CAM. From that, I was able to go back and work again with Jim Westberg, who again was a big influence for me as well as the company, and to help propel us into new opportunities, if you will, in the Americas region. Many people, hundreds of jewelers around the world, know Jim as a professional salesperson who is dedicated to getting the job done right. So learning from him was a perfect opportunity for myself. I could not have asked to work with a better person than Jim. He helped, again, not just myself, but the company build a foundation, and conversely, within the jewelry industry, that is, conversely, help customers themselves do a great job using the Solidscape machine and hopefully growing their business too. So something that we started 10 years ago, we're able to go back to him and I and work together again and really take things to the next level. And it's been a great experience for that too. Soon after, probably a few years later, Jim retired, and we were acquired by a fast-growing French company called Prodways. Prodways brought a lot of excitement and energy to the company, and it's been a great experience. It's like the rebirth, new blood, if you will. And what I've seen from working with them and working for them, they've taken a great opportunity to listen to the customers. And that's, to me, very, very important for us. And I think we've done a fairly good job, given the tools that we have available to us, to help improve the products that we put out. We can't do it without talking to our customers. So I appreciate what they've done in that regard and trying to do everything they can to leverage the tools that they have to make a better product for our customers. We have a lot of confidence that we can provide to the jewelry customers what they need and also what they want. But it's a task we're working on with the customers so that we can meet their expectations.
Very cool. I'm just curious, when you were with HP, were you in the plastics printing group?
No, I was in the server side. So
okay.
not linear, but to Solidscape per se, but being part of that organization and seeing what the printer folks were working on and talking about was all very interesting, and obviously something that made the move, if you will, a little bit easier for myself, coming from a tech company, if you will.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing in metal today what they were doing in plastics 15 years ago. So.
Yeah, exactly. No, HP's done a great job, and they've expanded their horizons and looking at the 3D printing market as well. But they're not per se in our field of jewelry, and that I think that's what's kept me at Solidscape for as long as I have, for 15 years, is, again, the people, the industry itself. It's very dynamic, different than other industries. And knowing a lot of jewelers, knowing a lot of other persons that have been working in the jewelry industry for a while, I believe would say something similar to that. And, it's in your blood. It's in your blood. So
absolutely.
It's been a fun experience.
So a lot's changed in the jewelry industry in the last 15 years. Which things, especially since you hit it as a newbie 15 years ago, what are some of the differences that you see between now and when you started?
Honestly, I think the biggest changes that I've seen have really come from our customer's customer, being the jeweler's customer's customer. Has had a great effect on the market. How we interact and provide to our customers is something that we've worked very hard to pay attention to, but I think it's been a very different experience of late because there have been some changes, from the millennials and so forth, with some other changes from design aspects and so on. We've really had to not only listen to our customer, but also our customer's customer. Today's customer for the jeweler is very demanding and different. But with that said, we're able to provide the customer's products as best as we can to match what their customer is asking for. From such things as being able to create a design and that comes as best as possible with the CAD in mind, and then the print, and obviously the casting, the whole process. But we want to give that person what they thought of in their mind, in their hand. And sometimes that's impossible to do unless if you have the right tool. And through what I've learned and experienced at Solidscape, Solidscape has been the best option for a jeweler because there is different options today to use in order to achieve that goal. Trends change and are changing, so we have to be mindful of that. And I'd say also Solidscape has still been a driving force to help enable, empower our customers to be able to do that, to keep up with the change in trends and so forth. Maybe not a lot of change from a design perspective for some people, but from others may see that as differently. Nevertheless, some of those ideas are really pushing the boundaries of what we can do from a design standpoint and actually put it out into a castable material and have it cast the way we intended it to look in our minds, but in our hands.
So what's an example of one of those boundary pushing things? Because a lot of times designers, and you've got a lot of designers on this call, don't even understand when they're pushing a boundary. They just have an idea of something they want to create. Maybe they could make it with their hands. Mm-hmm. What's an example of a boundary pushing thing?
Well, whenever you're going through a manufacturing process, you have to understand the limitations of each tool that you're using. So if you just used any 3D printer, you have to understand what are the limitations and capabilities of that 3D printer. Getting too technical, Solidscape, our technology allows ourselves to print more accurately than any other 3D printer. And what I mean by that is if you design a piece of jewelry, for instance, in CAD, and it's within the specs of the final process, that being casting, and you want it to come out, Solidscape gives you the best way to get to that point, meaning you're able to design for instance, a very thin-walled piece of material, say a shank or a piece of feature of a ring or something like micro pave. You need it to come out and also be able to be casted in that material. You need to be able to print that or produce that in such a way that will allow you to do that and maintain the design features. The measurements of that particular piece in CAD has to maintain. Otherwise, you're changing your whole design around and it may not work for the stone setter or the caster themselves. So that's really important that you're able to take what you intended in CAD, particularly the measurements and shapes and sizes of what you have designed in CAD, and be able to get that to come out in a wax printed part. So that's very, very important. We're fortunately able to do that and have been able to do that for many, many years. But sticking to the point of some of the other things that we have been seeing, and along the lines of those trends, Solidscape offers a way to match customers' expectations, especially when the design cannot be compromised, like I've been talking about. It needs to be done right the first time. I call this phase that we're in a critical customization age. We've been in a customization age, but I think we're in a critical mass point where there's so much of it going on with so many different ideas, with so many different options in order to hopefully get to point A to point B with a finished product. We need to be able to still share our customers and help find the forest through the trees with what they can do with our product, even if it is the best product, and I can say it's the best product. We need to be careful that, to make sure that people have the opportunity, as I think that a lot of people have, learning and understanding of the different types of tools that are out there. Customization is rapidly changing and will continue to change beyond even what we think of it as of today. But one thing is certain in my mind, in my opinion, and that's that customers want what they want when they want it, but most importantly, how they want it, which is only a few, if not less, different types of manufacturing tools like a 3D printer, like the Solidscape 3D printer, can match that critical demand. So, lastly, as far as the other changes I've seen over the years, I've seen a trend with jewelers being far more educated than ever than today, and that's a great testament to the persons in the industry. Excuse me, not just manufacturers either. We see it now in other segments, if you will, particularly the retail sector, pushing the boundaries. Retailers have become far more familiar and learning from the technology that's out there, which is, again, a great thing for all of us. If people aren't learning and trying to do better than even what we provide them today, then we're never going to get better. So we appreciate that. We try to take that, listen to our customers, again, like I said before, and take it to the next level. The jewelry technology landscape has changed and has grown a lot in the last 5 to 10 years or so. Before my beginnings 15 years ago or so, nothing was really a brand within the jewelry industry. It was more like there's a tool, a software, a printer, CAD program even. Very few are branded within the industry, or at least they kind of were and they kind of weren't, because they could be used in other applications or other industries. Today, I think, for instance, Solidscape, we have a very good name in the jewelry industry that is well known. I think of other companies with other names. I think one of the sessions that you have coming up is with Stellar. Stellar has a Matrix software, a CAD software program called Matrix, very well known, branded, and so on. There's other different types. So a lot of evolution has gone on in the last 15 years where people are very familiar with those types of tools, different products that they can leverage and use, and that are really focused and geared towards the jewelry industry specifically, like Solidscape. Others are not, and that's okay. There's obviously different ways of using different tools for the industry for what customers need in order to do the job. I know that a lot of jewelers go and buy supplies from the dental market, dental field, to help with what their needs are, and that's great. But I think it really helps a customer when they talk to a vendor or provider of technology, for instance, that has had a number of years of experience and have a number of other resources, which we'll talk about too from Solidscape's standpoint, that have that leverage of knowledge and experience about the market that they're serving. I like to buy things particularly from people that I know and have used, for instance, even the tools that I'm looking to purchase and want to use for my own needs. So that goes a long way. The industry is being challenged by today's customer, and it's having a profound effect on all of us to be better and not settling on just good enough. And so I see where we have gone in the last 15 years, and I see us continuing for the next 15 years, for instance, to keep pushing those types of boundaries.
Yeah, I was thinking, can you hear me okay? Because I can see my picture's frozen, but I want to make sure my audio is coming through.
Yep, I hear you fine.
All right, well, this frozen picture thing's not a big deal then. It's interesting because from a technology adoption standpoint, what you're talking about really speaks to where we are on the technology adoption curve as an industry. Because in 95, 96, when we were first trying to bring technology like lasers and CAD CAM, and we had to go to other industries to get the technology because the jewelry industry was too small for the larger industrial developers to even give us mind share.
Sure, and Solidscape's right there. 1994, when we were incepted, and through the early years, first 5, 6, 7 years or so, we're slowly walking and trying to find our way. And we started working within other industries outside of jewelry, particularly those that needed to cast lost wax cast pieces. We had the material, we had the machine. We thought that would our best fit would be micro castings or industrial-like needs that are using a casting process as well. We fell into jewelry more or less by accident, attending other different types of trade shows that had some hobbyists / jewelers / something else that would lend itself to using a tool like ours that had a material for lost wax casting, and it struck a chord with some key accounts, as particularly with some resellers. I remember our resellers in France and Turkey and in Italy found the technology very interesting. In fact, some of these resellers of ours had other businesses outside of areas in which we were talking to them originally about, that being more of an industrial background types of markets and industries, and complementary products that they had in their portfolio. They also had side businesses or other markets or businesses that they're curtailed to the jewelry industry, and it just so happened, well, geez, I learned that the CAD industry is now perked up and has started to develop design programs for manufacturing jewelry. Maybe I can create a CAD file, put that on this printer from the jewelry field, and see if this will work. And lo and behold, it did. And so we quickly became the most sought after 3D printer for jewelry manufacturing purposes back then, and still today, a lot of the same truths. So
maybe we're finally arriving as an industry, huh?
yeah. It's been around for a while. I'm sure it'll be still here for much longer. So.
Oh yeah, there's a lot more change still to come. Well, would you like to jump into your presentation about what Solidscape offers? Because I think that'll be fun to get into. Let me switch over to your PowerPoint slide. And I'm going to turn off my camera for a moment just to re-trigger it. Is my audio still coming through okay?
Yep, no problem.
Great. So you just let me know when you want to switch slides, and I'll be right with you.
Yeah, sure. Well, we can go right to the first slide beyond the cover slide, if that's all right with you.
Alrighty.
Yeah. So as you can see, and for those that aren't familiar with Solidscape, there's a picture there of a printed part in our wax material. It's a thermoplastic material that we've been using for many years. We've worked very hard to improve it over the years, particularly with its durability and strength, while maintaining the same casting characteristics that people have known and loved for many, many years. You can also see the detail and so forth that's there with that piece. Obviously, it's very intricate. Design is something that only a few, if not one, 3D printer or solution can actually do or achieve, and also bring that to life with a casted piece and a jeweler can work with and use. Beyond that, a lot of jewelers appreciate not only the fact that they can cast a piece, you can probably cast just about anything, but being able to cast it without any issues, such as porosity and so forth, so that when you go to the secondary step and you're going to finish the piece, you don't want to be polishing and finishing away any precious metals. It could be very costly, and it's been known to be very costly for a lot of jewelers that are doing things in a different way. So they rely on Solidscape to help them with that process, so they're not adding more to the cost of the piece that they're producing. And again, that's part and parcel why people have trusted Solidscape for many years, is that they don't have to do a lot of post-process finishing and so forth after the part has been casted. It's all well and good that the part looks as beautiful as it does here on the screen, but at the end of the day, if it doesn't cast the way we want it to, then the secondary step, which is the 3D printer, may or may not be the right solution. Fortunately, Solidscape has been the right solution for a lot of jewelers for this exact reason. So, next slide, please. So, around this time a year ago, we did a major overhaul of our product offering solution under the same series of printers, the S series printers. When we did that, the first major change I would say that we did was introduce the S325. The S325 is a great machine at an entry-level price point. For the customers that are looking for a machine under $20,000 that can print and wax, which you cannot find anywhere else, but also be able to do any types of production. We had a previous generation machine in that price point, but quite frankly, it was very slow. Great machine, did a very good job, printed great quality parts, but it was almost too slow for the needs of the customer today. And so in order to help with that for the real-time manufacturing, being able to produce a quality part in the same day or overnight, and a number of them, we introduced the S325 with the same speed of that of which a lot of customers have become familiar with, such as the T66, T76, the 3Z Pro, and the S350. This machine comes with one resolution, and the one resolution is 25 micron, hence the name S325. The other machine was not a new machine. The other change that we did about a year ago, I'm going to jump to the next product over the S360, but move to the S390. We introduced a new program, and that new program we refer to as lifetime printheads. We've been working with the S390 for a number of years, and we've done an enormous amount of changes with the S series over the year. We've done a number of changes of our products over the years, from migrating from the 3Z to the S series, and the S390 is no exception. And in the first couple of years, what we saw is exactly what we hoped for, and that was a very reliable, robust machine, and it's been doing a heck of a good job for us in terms of helping our customers work seamlessly with the machine without very much interruption. But to back and support our claims and some of what other people have seen in the field with that reliability is that we came out with a lifetime printhead warranty on the 390, enhancing our overall offering on our what is today our number one selling printer, the S390. So that's a big commitment from the company, and customers have responded very well to it, and we appreciate that, and we'll continue to support them with the lifetime printhead warranty on the S390. Moving back to the center machine there on the screen, the S360. S360 was introduced in March of this year. For many of those who remember what perhaps happened in March was the shutdown of the MJSA show due to the COVID crisis. And unfortunately, we weren't able to do the world launch of this product, which we intended to do in our largest market, the largest market in the jewelry field, and that being in the backyard of New York City at the Jacob Javits Center for MJSA. But the show must go on, right? So we did launch the product. We have done a number of different activities centered around this particular product virtually. The product has done a very good job. It is a very, very dynamic type of product. It's a product that we have never had before, where we have integrated a number of different resolutions from other platforms into one machine, allowing ourselves to print as fine as 6 micron, but also print as fast as some of our fastest machines we have today, including the S390 and some resolutions. So the XDP is also an enhancement of our machine software that helps move the print heads on the carriage assembly efficiently, so that we can print better quality parts in a more timely manner and with less interruption. So all the machines have been great and have been very well received, fresh of breath air, if you will, and we will continue to enhance our products. We'll be working towards launching a new version of our software, ModelWorks, very soon to help enable our customers to work, again, more efficiently. I'd rather work smarter than harder, and I know a lot of our customers would as well. So we'll be working very hard to give them the tools that they need in order to do that. Can we move to the next slide?
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, my mouse thinks we can, but the slide doesn't seem to agree. Oh,
there we go. That's okay. So when we had put together those different product offerings that I just spoke about, we had a number of things in mind that we had to keep as far as what is the core competencies of Solidscape and why our customers find us valuable enough to want to invest in Solidscape machines. One is the first picture on the left-hand side is hands-free workflow. So we have a dissolvable support material that works very well and has been working very well for us for a number of years. But in order to create certain designs, you need a dissolvable support structure. Otherwise, you'll be compromising on what types of designs you're able to use with that tool, and or being able to get the type of quality that you desire. So the hands-free dissolvable support material workflow that we have has been critical to us, and we've maintained that with our new S-Series printers. The picture of the clock, if you will, is print overnight, cast next day. In fact, a lot of our customers today with our faster speed printers and more efficient workflows within the printer and outside of the printer I've talked about have allowed them to also print in the same day and cast the same day, albeit quality takes time, and again, Solidscape produces the most accurate 3D printer. To be able to get that work done in a repeatable fashion and do a number of pieces. Typically, our customers are running a number of models overnight, but you could do some printing the same day as well. The bottom picture there, where it says produce exactly what you design in CAD. To me, this is a fundamental, most important thing that does incorporate a few other aspects, but nevertheless, if you can't produce what you do in CAD following guidelines of general jewelry manufacturing, as well as the tools in which you're using, if you're not able to take that design idea and be able to produce that based on the measurements and style that you intended in a printed part, then the game is over. Or if you're able to do that with a printed part, but can't get that result with a casted piece, the game is over. You need to go start over somewhere else, or have to accept what I would call the good enough. You don't want to accept that good enough, then you need to use a tool that will allow you to do your workflow more efficiently. That being designing CAD, and then have that tool, the printer in this case, print what you intended the CAD to be, and then conversely, in a material, casted to come out the way you intended it in the CAD to be. So there's no confusion or mystery there, and how to get that finished piece the way you had it in your mind to begin with. So that's very important. And that technology is still what we call today drop-on-demand jet technology. The next icon, if you will, is on the far right-hand side is the wax-like model material. So again, our best-selling feature, in my opinion, is the material. And that could be said for a lot of different 3D printing companies. Other 3D printing companies, either that we work with in the jewelry industry or outside of the jewelry industry. A lot of why people buy printers today is because of the types of materials they're able to print with. And Solidscape is no exception due to the material that we produce in-house has high casting characteristics, especially for the jewelry needs. Has been paramount for us, for our success and as well as our customer success. Next slide, please. So I wanted to take the opportunity to introduce you to some members of the leadership team. Unfortunately, due to the COVID crisis and other things that have been going on, I'm sure everyone is aware and affected to a certain degree, can understand. We will be going through the introduction of the other team members of the leadership team as well as persons in the company through this PowerPoint. First person on the top left-hand corner is Gary Lassard. Gary is our Director of Manufacturing and has been with us for a number of years now. He's doing a great job, helped our company make a number of different changes in order to improve the processes that we need in order to be able to meet our customers' needs. Next person, Alban, is our CEO. He recently moved him and his family across the ocean, if you will, from France. Alban comes from our parent company, Prodways, and he is now directing Prodways Tech, which is also Solidscape under that umbrella. Sue Edwards is on the top right-hand corner. She is our controller, helping manage our company from a finance standpoint, our order admin team, and has been a great help for us. Bottom left-hand corner is Jenna Mason. Jenna has been with us for a number of years as well, and she is our HR resource. She's done a great job with helping keep everybody safe, sound, happy, healthy, safe, and sound, if you will. So we appreciate everything that she has done, especially during this year and everything that we're working through. And then bottom right is yours truly, myself. And again, been with the company for about 15 years. I'm the Director of Sales for Solidscape. I am also the Director of Sales in the Americas region for Prodways, our parent company, and have really enjoyed my time working with Solidscape. Next slide, please. The backbone of the company, if you will, is our service and support team. The picture that you see on the left-hand side are our guys in the service team. We have Chris on the left, Matt in the center, Errol is on the right, and the far right is Rick, all of which have been with us for a number of years. I will single out Matt, if you will. Matt is a lead technician and a person who started around the same time I did. I beat him by about maybe a month or two, but him and I started around about the same time together, and it's been a great working experience with these guys. They do a great job. I can't say enough. In my past, being in sales much of my career, working with a service team like them has been a big help. Some companies, I can see this divide very clearly with sales and service fighting and butting heads and this and that and the other thing. But fortunately, we have a great team and very responsive to our customers' needs. And again, if we don't take care of our customers, somebody else will. And we want to be that person that will take care of our customer. And I appreciate that these guys do a great job doing that. Not to be left out, Roland Brito on the right-hand side has been with us for a number of years as well. Roland had joined us from our Stratasys days. He was working, running the model lab in Billerica, Massachusetts for Stratasys, and he joined us, and he's been doing an excellent job with us. Prior to Roland, we had a model lab manager. His name was Vic Lucier. Vic is near and dear to me. He was here when I started, and he retired. And he was a great resource helping us out. And truth be told, we were a little bit concerned that we would miss a beat when Vic left. And I know, as much as a lot of people have loved and respected working with Vic, Roland has really picked up right where we left off, and he's been a great help, and always willing to do more than we ask to try to help our customers and get the job done. So, next slide, please. Account services team. So we have Jimmy Gilbert and Karen. Jimmy has been with us for a little while. He's doing a great job. In fact, Jimmy was our Q3 employee of the quarter. So he's been doing an awesome job, really helping us out and filling in some spaces that we need, particularly when people are out and so forth. So he's been a great welcome addition to the team. Really like working with Jimmy. And Karen, she's been with us for a couple of years. We had some changes, retirements, if you will, in the last couple of years. And with that said, Karen stepped right in and has been helping out with our team. With that change, as well as some other changes, such as the introduction of an e-store, something that Solidscape had never had until a couple of years ago, a year ago or so. It's been a good experience, a learning curve to a certain degree, but so far so good. We're working to enhance our offerings to our customers to make things more seamless and easy so they can keep doing what they do best, and that's produce high quality jewelry pieces. So.
All right, well, that's the end of the slideshow, right?
Yes.
Let's see if I can get my camera to come back on, not be frozen anymore. I'm getting a message that I have a bandwidth problem and it will not let me open my camera. Go figure.
That's all right.
So now you're going to talk to a logo for the rest of this session. I'm so sorry.
No problem.
So when a customer is considering getting into a Solidscape machine, what kinds of things should they be asking you?
But, well, first, I assume that they produce custom jewelry pieces, and perhaps they're currently outsourcing their needs, so they would like to do this in-house for a number of different reasons, particularly with control of their business, and being able to rely on themselves as well as opposed to others. For instance, that's what we see very common with the small, medium-sized manufacturers to retailers alike. Service bureaus and so forth, they're looking to provide the best service possible, and also eliminating some of the risks that they have as well, or driving up the manufacturing costs. So with Solidscape, you're able to produce high quality wax prints in an efficient manner that are going to be the best that you could possibly produce. There you are. that you can possibly produce, and be able to produce it in a material that will cast 100% without any compromise. So they need to consider, what are they trying to achieve? What kind of jewelry are they trying to make? And what kind of results do they want with that jewelry? In my opinion, there's a very cutthroat market today. People have high demands, and a lot of people are competing for either the same business or more business. And in order to be able to do that, you want to do something that will separate you from the others. And by using a tool that can do something for your business differently than any other, I like to have those odds on my side. So that to me is what really makes a difference, is being able to have a tool that can do the very best of the job that I need to do day in and day out, and have it be a reliable process from CAD to print to cast without really having to think about it too much.
What do you tell potential customers who they understand that from a competitive standpoint, they really need this for competitiveness, but they're nervous about their ability to learn the technology? What's your advice for them?
Yep. So the printer is fairly intuitive, not self-explanatory, but to a certain degree it is. I mean, we've been selling our printers for the last 20 years or so, and I said 5,000 printers. I think there's somewhere around 6,000, 7,000 printers out there today that are Solidscape. And the technology has been great, and we haven't had to make a lot of changes per se on the mechanics of the machine. So understanding some small detailed changes from generation to generation has been really not as difficult as it may seem. But if someone is not familiar with the products at all, and it's their first time, the machines, we don't need to do in-person training. It's plug and play.
Okay.
Our service team does a great job of doing a installation training process only in a couple of hours, if you will. We usually do it for 2 days. We run a job overnight type of thing, and walk through a customer through the process. But from there, our service team is great in the sense that, as they continue to work and learn and use the machine, they may ask some questions. They're more than welcome to do that, but you should be able to get up and running fairly quickly right away, especially right after you've gotten the machine plugged in and warmed up for a little while, and you're basically good to go. A few things that people will need to spend a little bit more time with, one outside of our machine, but is the CAD. And if you've taken your time and learned and understood the CAD aspect and design of jewelry, you should be in a great spot. And for a lot of people, they've dabbled a bit with sending their files out to other persons, service bureaus, and so forth, and they will learn and see, okay, what areas do I need to improve on? What areas do I have down pat that I don't really need to relearn or figure out? And once they get to that point, they tend to feel very comfortable and want to have control of their business by having a machine in-house. Other things, more particular to the machine, that may take a little bit of time just to play with. But again, our service team, pretty straightforward and self-explanatory with the GUI system that comes with the software. You're going to take your design file from your STL file, import that into our machine code filing software, and basically change that STL file into a machine code file, port that over to the machine wirelessly or through a USB stick, and the machine will start printing the design that you shared it with. The GUI, again, is fairly self-explanatory and intuitive. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to really go through it, but again, that would be one thing. And the other is the post-process. Once the machine is done printing the part, you need to take the model off the bill plate and put it in a solution to de-wax. I talked about the dissolvable support material. A typical engagement ring would probably take 10, 15 minutes or so to de-wax, maybe a little bit more, but usually not too long. clean material and so forth. And if, we work through and help you set up your dewaxing system, it's put the model in the solution, let it sit there over time, take it out, support material is dissolved away, and then you're left with the build material, which is a bluish material. Then you would air dry the model and sprue and cast, basically. Again, it sounds simple. It is. It's not overly complicated, but a few other steps in the process that people will want to pay attention to.
I would imagine that for people who have been doing CAD for a while and sending the files off for processing, they bring in a Solidscape machine, that some of the troubleshooting they think they're doing with the machine is actually on the CAD side. Is that true?
Yeah. I mean, if it's trial and error on a new design, I would imagine if they're creating a new design that they've never really made before, there's some trial and error. But nevertheless, it's the machine will produce what you put in it from a CAD perspective. And if you stay within the specifications of the machine, which again, the most accurate 3D printer, your specifications are going to be greater than any other fabrication 3D printing machine or tool out there, you'll be fine. But a lot of people typically work through it and say, okay, I see this now in my hands in person, not just on a screen. I want to tweak it this way, that way, or the other way. Fortunately, the machine doesn't require sprues or supports. It has a dissolvable support. You don't have to think about that, and therefore you will be able to make any types of adjustments within reason to be what you want it to be. So,
okay.
Yeah.
One
of the things that I've been hearing a lot lately is a lot of customers are asking us, I hear you guys came out with a lifetime printhead warranty on your 390. That's great. I've also heard some other things in the market about what do I need from the first year, second year, third year cost of ownership. And I think it's very important to share that a lot of people, we've done an enormous amount of work to improve a lot of different things, particularly around the delivery system of the printer itself with corrosion, and that could happen in jets and things of that nature. We're just not seeing it anymore. I mean, in the last several years now. And therefore, providing the lifetime printing warranties, that peace of mind is there, but also the other peace of mind of other things that things can happen. It's a machine, things can happen, but nevertheless, we are seeing only the cost of ownership of maybe a couple of $100 a year of ownership, which is, I think, somewhat reasonable looking at the tool we're talking about that is and can be for a lot of jewelers and customers the backbone of their business for year over year over year. Minimal costs to keep running it is very, very important. And so, again, peace of mind with a warranty is very, very helpful, but making sure and knowing that the machine is well made and is going to work for you the way you want it to is very important to share too. But our customers will be the testament to that.
Yeah. We have a question from Stuart Adelman from Minneapolis. Hi, Stuart. He wants to know if it can be run intermittently. He says, some weeks I have a lot, but sometimes I won't need it for a week or two.
Yep. So one of the things that we implemented in the S-Series printer is where we can automatically set the machine so that it can idleize its temperatures. So the machine works with a handful of different types of temperature gauges that we pay attention to. From the tank to the heat lines to the jet and so forth. We don't want the machine to sit there and idleize while it's overheating, for instance. Or we don't want it to cool down too much if your times in between are too long, right? Where the material is going to harden and it's going to cool and it's going to harden, and then you try to turn it back on. It's going to take a little while to get going again and turn that hard material into a liquid again. So the the idleization there is there, and a customer has access to it far more easily than our previous generation machines. And then even before that, it's doing it in a more responsible manner, in the sense that when the machine is going to turn back on, for instance, or turn off, I guess, it will do it in stages and not just all at once. So it's going to heat up a certain portion of that delivery system accordingly. So it's not doing it all at once and just maybe rushing through the system, and then therefore you have a heated line issue, you have a jet problem or something like that. But the machine is much smarter than it ever has been, and it's doing a much better job of helping customers that are doing a particular workflow like what Stuart is talking about.
Okay. Stuart has another question, which is, what is the cost per model? Stuart, I wasn't clear on that. Did you miss the slide where you talked about the cost of the machines, or did you want to know what the cost per produced model was? And maybe while I wait for clarification from
Sure.
Stuart,
I can probably answer that. So in the material itself, so real simple, packages of material are roughly $200 or so, maybe a little bit more, but $200 or so in the build material and roughly $200 or so in the support material. We typically say that a customer can produce roughly 100 rings, typical engagement rings, using those 2 packs of material. 100 rings, $400, a little bit more, $425 maybe or so of material. You're looking at about a little over $4 per ring in the material itself. So about $4 a ring is the answer to that, I would say.
well, and that's interesting because a couple of weeks ago on not an MJSA Expo session, but in a MJSA educational webinar, we were talking about service bureaus and producing files, and one of the things that was said was many times the caster wants you to just send the file because they want to do their own material and processing for production. But with the cost of your machines and that low cost per model, this is an incredibly economical solution just for being able to show 3D to customers before you produce.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, a lot of customers have shared that. There are other solutions out there, but if you really want to see what is going to be as close as possible to a finished piece, you really need to see it for yourself in the material that you'll be casting it in. That will really make a big difference. Yeah.
So
I see Yi has a question. Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. So Yi is saying they have 2 S370s in the house. I need you to compare that to new ones. Compared to the ones on the slide, how old is the S370?
S370 we still produce and will manufacture today. It has more or less been a product that we haven't been selling and producing very much of because of the new changes in the product portfolio. In essence, the S370 has been, I would say, more closely tied to the S360. The S360 is a sub $30,000 printer. The S370 was a much more expensive product. The S360 has more range of resolutions, but also has the same speed capabilities at the what I would call the typical jeweler's resolutions and a Solidscape, which is 25 and 31 micron. So that if Yi purchased another machine, about a 360, and he printed at the same resolution, perhaps that he's printing at his 370, say that's the 25 micron, he's not going to miss a beat. It's the same speed. Albeit, though, you have a newer machine with XTP technology, you may have a little bit better quality, but to each his own, it's going to be minute. And truth be told, we don't market that, but nevertheless, there is some changes, tweaks to the software that will help you to be more efficient. So the 390 is a faster version of the 370, if you will, and it comes with its lifetime printhead warranties, comes with the base, which also includes a voltage regulator and a high quality vacuum. It is a little bit more expensive than the 370, but so the 370 is somewhere in between the 360 and 390, but I would compare it more closely to the 360 today.
The technology's evolved a lot in the last 15 years. Do you guys have any recommendation about how often people should be looking at updating their machine with new model? I mean, you guys have done a good job of continuing to support old models even as the technology evolves. But if somebody wants to stay on top of their game, what would you tell them? Because these aren't huge investments.
Well, truth be told, I just speak from what I've learned from a customer's perspective, and that I think most customers today are looking in and around a 3-year time frame.
Great. Okay.
The amortization, if you will, of capital equipment like a Solidscape, typically in the past was about 5 years. That was more prevalent with larger companies and so forth. Other smaller companies, probably more particular to that of the jewelry industry, we're looking at longer amortization periods of 6, 7, 8 years. We've seen some of our machines are still being used today since I sold them 15 years ago, which is a great testament to Solidscape, but also to that customer keeping that machine running so long. But nevertheless, the technology is changing, and again, trying to keep up and being at where we need to be. Even those small manufacturers today. I had a gentleman the other day call in and asked about trading in a machine he purchased about a year ago because his warranty was up and he wants to be that far closer to the curb as best as he can. He doesn't want to be behind. So he wants the next best thing. He wants to have the latest and greatest. And, I see that happening quite frequently. More frequently, I should say. Sorry.
Well, I think that's an important thought process. You as a sales guy can't say this because then people feel like you're pushing machines. But I, as a manufacturing advisor, say this all the time, that when I got to the jewelry industry and saw people were trying to amortize lower cost technology for 6, 7, 8, 10 years, it was like, other industries don't do that.
Yeah.
Technology is changing quickly. As fast as these guys can innovate better ways of doing things, smarter ways of doing things, they're building it into the equipment. So I think it speaks to the trustworthiness of a vendor that they will support machines for a very long time and they keep them out there and running. But for your business purposes, competitiveness does often depend on your use of technology. And I mean, 3 years is rational. That, wanting to update to get a hold of the new things makes sense.
Yep. And I give a lot of credit to a number of different jewelers that are out there today because, again, there's a lot of different options out there. A lot of those options have come from the low-cost option solution, if you will, and some work, some don't, some fit a need in the overall needs that they have, and they've learned what can work and what can't work. And what I can say, though, is that Solidscape, we're looking at that and trying to see and identify a need while staying abreast of what is important to customers, from what we're talking about, total cost of ownership and ROIs and things of that nature. That has always been a part of our thought process, and seeing that these changes in the marketplace, obviously, we have to be open-minded to having programs that allow our customers to obtain this type of equipment effectively. I see Charlie was asking a question about trade-ins. Something that I implemented probably 10 plus years ago was a trade-in program. That started when we introduced the 3Z line of products, similar to the products that Charlie has. He has Pros. The trade-in program was valid for 3Z Max 2s in a very short period of time, with 3Z Pros even. But we've carried that over into the S series product. We've been very, very aggressive, and I appreciate that Solidscape's taking the liberties of allowing ourselves to do it in multiple platforms, the trade-ins, and allowing our customers to trade in different types of printers, whether that being a Solidscape older generation printer or another different equal value type of 3D printer as well, to have our customers be able to have those options. I look at the customization age and I say to myself, well, that's what people want. Well, then maybe we need to work towards creating a customized offer as well, an option, that would make business sense. It has to make business sense. So, Charlie, if you're interested in trade-ins, obviously we'd be happy to work with you and help you out. Your 3Z Pros, obviously work towards to give you a fair value, but there are options for you. The best valued option, if you will, from our trade-ins is our 390s, and couple that with a total solution with lifetime printhead warranties. I think you can't go wrong there with the upgrade. But we do also offer upgrades on the 360, albeit it's a smaller dollar amount. But nevertheless, it's a great product and more similar to your 3Z Pro with higher speeds and more efficient, better printing capability.
Charlie's also wanting to know what the approximate value of a single or both 3Z Pros is.
This is predicated off of the serial number. We'll look at the generation of the printer in which he has. We've sold 3Z Pros for a number of years, 5-6 years or so. There's different phases of those printers, but nevertheless, let's speak of that of only the S390. We're looking typically at about a $10,000 trading credit. Could be a little bit more, could be a little bit less, depends. But nevertheless, I'd say stick around that number. That should be a fair estimation of what that should be. And given what 3Z Pros are being sold for or traded for, which I have somewhat of an idea on the open market from the likes of eBay, Alibaba, and Craigslist, that is in line with what I think a customer would be able to net, if not much more net in return for his trading credit versus what he would be able to get on the open market, in my opinion.
Other questions from our audience? We've got them here, like in the hot seat, so we can ask questions.
Yeah. So just to stick to that point with Charlie, what I had just said was only for a single machine trade-in value credit. And we only allow ourselves to trade in one machine per one machine purchase.
Looks like Alan's going to be coming through with a question. Either that or you guys have all started doing email on me, but I can see he's trooping, so we're watching. I'm curious about, while we're waiting to see if some other questions come in, what advice do you have for people who are using your technology to print and sending it in to be cast and having material issues, trying to navigate those material issues to get to good castings?
So they're sending it out to have it casted?
Yep.
I sound like a broken record, at least to me I do, but I would say that for a lot of customers, we will typically send sample models out that they have sent files to us to have printed, knowing that their next step is probably going to be a casting process. Then we dip the models in baby oil, let them dry, and then it's coated in a material that should work well with just about any casting process, any casting machine, any investment to help with that process. So the model isn't eaten or there's any porosity or other issues. There typically isn't a lot of issues with the Solidscape models to be printed. A lot of times what customers will do is they'll look back and see the process in which they use to cast the part. And that usually is where the problem lies. It's not necessarily the printed model itself. Again, it sounds like a broken record, but it's been that way for 15 years. And honestly, I haven't had to deal with much of that issue. And I'm sure a lot of our customers would say the same things, that, at the end of the day, it is maybe about, the burnout cycle or something. Maybe I changed something. Maybe I tried to cast it with another 3D printed model material part, and that didn't do well, and it caused an effect in the casting process that harmed the Solidscape pieces. Whatever it is, it's typically something that needs to be looked at in the process that they use in the casting procedure. So, but any question is a good question, and we can at least look at it, look at the file that they use, look at the machine, and make sure. But if they felt they had a good printed model, then it should cast fine.
Okay. So Alan's saying, let's use a diamond ring, just a basic diamond ring as an example. What's the average time frame for a print to be finished for an S325 and an S360?
So a typical engagement ring on an S325, which is printing at 25 micron, it's our low-cost solution wax 3D printer, right? Typically, I would say 4 or 5 hours, 5 hours. Depends on the detail and intricacies and the thickness of the shank and things of that nature. But general typical engagement rings take 4 to 5 hours. On a on a S360, a little less time, probably closer to the 4 hour mark, if not 4 hours. So I'd say S325, average typical engagement ring takes 5 hours. S360 takes about 4 hours, and S390 is probably in and around 3 hours or less. So
average curing time?
But there's no curing time. So once it's done printing, you take the model off, you do the dewaxing process, if you will, similar to a curing process maybe. But you can gang up your dewaxing pieces. You put them all in the same solution. You have to wait. But nevertheless, a typical engagement ring usually takes 15, 20 minutes or so if you have a clean solution and it's agitated and everything that our service team would tell you to do otherwise. Nevertheless, should take about that much time, yeah.
Charlie wants to know what S-Series machine allows for 12 to 19 microns in Z height. He said he sees 19 microns is where he prefers his models to be for quality.
Yep. So the 360 would be your best bet. The 360 machine prints at 6, 12, 19, 25, 31, and 38 micron. Okay. So if he's trying to print at 12 or 19 microns, the 360 is his best bet. The 390 resolution starts at 25, and I will challenge that a newer S390 machine versus an older generation Solidscape machine, that his print quality will be comparable from a 19 micron part to a S325, to a 25 micron on a 390, just simply because of the enhancements of the efficiency of the jet algorithm that we use in order to work the machine. The resolution is still going to be quote unquote 25 micron, but it should be very comparable to a similar resolution on an older generation machine, even if that's at a 19 micron, for instance. So it's just, again, this is what our customers are telling us. I'm not trying, and it's eye of the beholder. So if Charlie wants to see that for himself, we'd be happy to make a sample part and show him the different resolutions, and he should be able to see for himself, is this different or is this not different? Is this better or the same or worse? It's always a good challenge.
Ye would like to know if you could talk about Solidscape DL.
Sure. We introduced the DL product, about 2 years ago almost. The DL product is one of the fastest DL printers, or low-cost DL printers on the market. I think typically a lot of customers would like to know the build speeds and how many models that they can produce and things of that nature. Sorry, I had something come on my screen. You have a build plate that you can maximize. Most customers are printing around a dozen models in a build time. And a build time is roughly, give or take, 3.5 hours. Can you optimize that even more? Yes, but generally speaking, our customers are doing about that much production. Is there anything particular that you have in mind, Yi, that I can answer?
How big is the build plate on the DL?
That's a good question. The DL is 17. I'm trying to do the math in my head because it's in millimeters. But inches, I think it's roughly 2.5, 3 inches by about 4.5 inches.
Okay. Looks like he's typing an answer now.
Yep.
So while we're
I just found it, if you don't mind. The build area is 84 by 47 millimeters.
and Charlie came through with it at the same time. Thanks, Charlie.
Okay, thanks.
While we're waiting to see if there's something specific that you want to know about the DL. So somebody's listening to this or watching this webinar now, and they decide, okay, I'm interested enough. I'm going to call you, but they don't know what model they need or want. How does the process unfold from here for them?
So they don't know what they need or want?
Yeah, they know. So they're
what you said?
decided,
okay.
Solidscape's it. I'm calling Solidscape, but like, what does the selling process look like, and how long does it take between, figuring out, you helping them figure out what they need and getting set up and running, and how do you help them figure out what they need?
Well, the customer, there's usually two different types of people who call in, to be honest with you. And it's funny, I went through this in the meeting earlier today. People that are truly not familiar with Solidscape, they really don't know what they're getting themselves into, I guess, if you will. From a 3D printing standpoint, maybe they outsource some models, maybe they do full service outside. They ask them to design, print, and cast everything, and they really just want to get started, and they just got CAD, or they're learning CAD, or now they're like, I need a printer. Slightly different process in terms of going through the product portfolio. But we really need to know what your capacity, what are you trying to achieve in terms of number of models in a month or a week or something along those lines? What are your requirements in terms of quality? I mean, are you trying to really maximize your quality capabilities, or are you okay with just good enough quality type of thing? Typically, if you're calling Solidscape, you've done some research, so you know that, okay, I'm looking for, in knowing that Solidscape is not the least expensive option, let's say, that I need to also look at and say, I want a wax material. If I want a wax material, then great. We're the right solution for you. Let me go through the litany of machines that we have, and let me help you by telling you what I think would be the best solution for you. Maybe in your quantity of work that you're doing, and you don't really need to do the same day manufacturing, or you don't need to do a large run over the weekend to get a lot of your work done. A 390 may not be what you 390 may not be exactly what you want or perhaps need. So a 325 might be the best solution for you and allow your business to grow. And as it grows, maybe invest in another 325, or you trade in your 325 for a 390, for instance. Different options there. From a process standpoint, especially that new person that hasn't ever really seen Solidscape before, we ask them to send us a file, and we will work through the file with them and print the sample model to show them exactly where they're at and what we can do, and if they have any needs or questions about casting guidelines and so forth, or maybe even some help with CAD guidelines with the design, what it's actually needed for in order to be used and produced on a Solidscape printer. We will do that. Once we go through that process and they see that the model quality is what their want is, when we go through the quoting process and understand the value of the product, we usually go through the ROI, which, number of pieces, how much material you're spending on a monthly basis in order to produce those models, how much is the machine, and so on and so forth. And then go through the general typical questions regarding warranty, which is important, from our machine standpoint, particularly with a 325 and 360, you are covered bumper to bumper for the 1 year warranty. On a 390, you get your 1 year warranty, but you also get your lifetime printheads every year thereafterwards. And then typically we work through the support questions that are there. One of the very important questions that is about how to be supported on these very expensive types of products, quote unquote, right? And very important tools that are for the customer. This is probably one of the most, if not the most important tool in their workshop, if you will, for producing the work that they want to produce. So we took it upon ourselves to make business decisions to help our customers have the experience that they intended to have. That was a major push a couple of years ago, and it's evolving as we go along over the last couple of years, but still is true today. And that's that, making sure we have taken the time and we have the right resources in place to help our customers and understand how to use the machines and maximizing them for their business. Some resources, there's a lot of different types of resources out there today. And it's simply part and parcel because we've been around for so long and we have so many machines out there. You want to make sure you're getting the right support and you're getting the support from the trusted resource that's authorized and able to do the work that you need done, either over the phone or perhaps in person, or send them machines according, to Solidscape. That's important. So,
Charlie's asking what the price point is on the S360 and S390.
Well, again, any prices that I talk about in this session is dependent on. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, any questions, any pricing that I share in this session, it always depends on where one is located, right, outside of the United States. But with the exception of taxes, tariffs, and duties, and so forth, the list price points on the machines, the 360 price point is just under $30,000. And the list price of the S390 is just under $46,000.
Just in case somebody's curious and didn't ask it.
Excuse me, 325, just under $20,000. Yep.
And then the print head for the life of the printer, I think that's an interesting offer because that seems to be where issues often happen. So what's the print head replacement cost if you didn't have that?
Typically, a customer is going to go through 2 print heads a year. And a print head is just under $900 per print head. So you're looking at about an $1,800 cost per year. It could be more. Hopefully people aren't negligent with their machines and so forth, but and things can happen. But nevertheless, knowing that overall cost, anywhere in between $1,800 to $2,700 worth of print heads a year. So printhead warranty really does add a lot of value. And anything thereafter that from parts needing to be replaced on the machine, we're in the hundreds of dollars range, and it should be very reasonable in terms of every year after the first year warranty if you don't have an extended warranty.
You clarified, wanted to know, is it possible to send direct mold process from the DL? And is there any shrinkage on the print?
Yes, and yes, but the mold process is, we have a specific mold material for that. I would ask that you send us some files and let us print in the different different materials that we have, the resins as well as mold material, to try that process. Everybody seems to have a different process, I would say, in terms of the mold making process to a certain degree. And the shrinkage on the print is compensated, should be compensated in the pre-print process as well as post-print process for the curing process. So, and it's all well documented and explained in our documentation that we can go through together if you'd like.
And price point on the DL?
The DL list price is under $15,000. There is some price adjustments that are taking place right now. Generally speaking, will net you a savings of a couple of $1,000 or so, roughly. So you're looking at about $13,000, maybe $14,000 or so.
Okay. Alan wanted a clarification on the lifespan of a print head.
So we don't typically quantify the lifetime expectancy of a print head. Typically, what we're seeing on the S-Series printer lifetime expectancies, we don't give a lifetime expectancy in terms of hours. I say hours, yes, hours. Sorry. But in terms of months and years and time. The print heads are manufactured with a piezo, and the piezo over time will burn out. It'll go out. And typically what we see in a normal operation of a customer running 90-95% of the time with a machine is usually about 9 months. Could be a little bit less, could be a little bit more. Generally speaking, on the S-Series seems to be a little bit more, but generally speaking, we're looking at that. And then therefore, I would assume that I would be going through, there's 2 different print heads on the machine, a build and a support material. I'm probably looking at going through each of those print heads a year, hence the 2 jets a year. So 9 months you're looking at. Yeah.
Cool. Well, somehow it is already 3:30 Eastern time. I don't know how that happened. Do you have any last thoughts you want to share with the group before we sign off for today?
I appreciate everybody's questions. I think they're really good questions. I hope I was at least able to help clarify some questions that people may have about the technology. I would also like to have the opportunity to thank Solidscape and Broadways. But during my time here, learned a lot, had a great experience, continue to learn a lot, and have the opportunity to meet and work with a lot of great people. And I think that goes a long way with the market that we serve more than any other. 95% of our business or so is in the jewelry industry, and it's been a great experience so far. And obviously, we all want to continue and work together, and we look forward to doing that.
Very good. Well, I want to thank our MJSA members for attending today. You are my people. Yes. I love you. I want you all to be really careful right now while the virus is surging again, so take care of yourselves. And I want to thank MJSA for making MJSA Expo Online happen. The whole team at MJSA has been working really hard. Special shout out to Travis, who is constantly on board working on this program. So he's doing a great job. And we'll see you, I don't know if we'll see you in 2 weeks or not. Do we have one? Or next week. Next week's Thanksgiving. All right, somebody from MJSA, I know you're all on the chat there. Do we have a session next week? I'm supposed to check these things before I do the session. Were you trying to add something, Owen?
Yes, I also want to say thank you to MJSA. Great organization. I've attended a number of trade shows and other events and publications and everything else there. It's always been a great resource for us. So I want to send our appreciations to them too. So thank you.
Okay, Rich chimed in. Also, thank you to Rich. Rich Humans, he's saying the next Expo Online is December 2nd with Gem Vision. So I'm also going to tell everyone, happy Thanksgiving. And that's it. We'll see you in 2 weeks. So thank you. Thanks so much, Owen. You're great.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.